Julie's in. Fantastic. Hi, Julie. Oh, great. How are you today? Okay, excellent. Let me do my quick bit at the start. Hello, everyone. I'm really pleased to see both familiar and new faces. My name is Nena Onuba, and I'm the founder of LBB. And LBB is a premium, clean, natural, independent skincare and wellness brand. And the name LBB is actually from the ethos that life is beautiful in balance. And that's mainly because I think it's awesome to look great because we feel great. For those of you who don't know me, I spent many years in the city as an M&A banker. And in fact, I think it's that life that connected Funmi and I. And I know how hard it is to make proper time for self-care when you feel you don't have a lot of time. And so that's sort of what inspired the brand. And I shared my story at the start of this series. And I will actually share it in the link I send out to everyone who registered for this session. So my whole thing with LBB is we really focus on doing it's less but better, and really using clean, high-performing, natural ingredients to create versatile products that easily rejuvenate both mind and body, but without compromising on any of the stuff you expect from your skincare: performance, quality, and also a big part of it is the pleasure that we get from using and looking after ourselves. So this is day 5 of a 7-day series, which is 7 days of well-being, which is really a celebration. LBB has been going for a year. We started around about this time last year. And it's also October, Black History Month. And so I thought, what better way to talk about self-care and wellness, but also to use this platform to elevate some of the amazing voices that I know exist within the Black community. And also looking at self-care beyond just, candles and nice relaxing things, which are all very important, but thinking more broadly. And I think today's topic really showcases, right, self-care and in a very different way. So I think this all came about because Funmi, who I knew from my banking days, shared about this adventure that she had started in lockdown on LinkedIn. And for me, that became almost a prompt to catch up with Funmi because we hadn't spoken for ages. And our conversation started and we were just sharing and exchanging with each other. And it almost felt like we were living parallel lives because we each found that actually there were events in our lives that had caused us to really look and analyze what's been happening. And we sort of had that wake up moment that I think sort of changed how we look about life, and also changed how we think about what really matters. And it was that conversation that really birthed this, because she shared with me how one very simple question that her daughter had asked her ended up with her teaching, 35, I think, kids about investing in lockdown. And I thought to myself, wait, when I know how much parents, even the calmest of parents, worry about their children's futures, education, security, I was like, that's definitely self-care 101. So we have to have this session. So I'm really excited to welcome Funmi today. It's really just her sharing some of her experiences. And at the end, I think there'll be the opportunity to ask her questions, because you will have many. I did. And you'll have many whoa moments. I'll just quickly tell you a bit about Funmi. So Funmi is extremely passionate about sustainable investment, empowering children with really healthy habits that see them thrive. In June, in the throes of lockdown, Funmi asked her 9-year-old daughter to choose between getting a present or investing the money. And the answer to that, which was choosing to invest, is how Funmi came about you know, this session. But she hasn't cut. I think before we all start to hold ourselves to unrealistic standards, for me as a seasoned investment manager, she has 18 years experience doing this. She's worked for notable asset managers like Silk Invest, BlackRock, Barings, Citibank. She's also a CFA charter holder. And she has an MSc in finance from Imperial. And in fact, we overlapped at Imperial, which we didn't know until we spoke on that day. And right now she serves as an advisory council member for the listed investment fund APQ Global, where she gives them strategic advice and guidance on emerging and frontier markets, investments and strategy around ESG and sustainable investments. So that's a bit of background on Funmi. Funmi, I'm going to hand the stage over to you to do your thing.
Thank you, Nena. And thank you everyone for attending. I'm actually very excited to share my journey so far. It's been interesting, and I hope, you know, for a Thursday night, it's informative. I don't know how many have ever read the book Purpose Driven Life, but I decided that it was time to read it. My husband had it for about 10 years, and then he kept it in the study. And then I finally decided, okay, you know what, let me pick this up and look at it. And when I started, I've caught a bit, because when Nena and I spoke, I had left my job. I resigned from my role because I was tired. I was tired of the city life. I thought my kids needed me a lot more. And I didn't think there was the right balance. Work was taking a lot more, home needed a lot more attention. And so I decided that I would stop working, sort out home, and then decide what I wanted to do going forward. And so I was on that journey. My son needed some help with his speech. He was starting school, and I wanted him to you know, start strong. I had money to teach my daughter, who is now 9. Then when she was about 1.5. And I think, Nena, did I show you the video of her reading at 1.5? And my son, because of some of the delays he had, he read at 2. And I worried a lot because I thought he wouldn't get the same amount of attention his sister had. I won't be able to focus on him. And so I just thought, you know what, we had surgeries, we'd had speech therapists, and I was like, now he just needs his mom. And so I focused on him for the last 1 year, and he's in school now. I got a call from the teacher last week saying, oh, what did I use to teach him to read? He's way ahead of his class. And I was like, this is a boy that when he was 1.5, the nursery called us and they were concerned he wasn't talking. And so we're very, very worried. So it's been a journey. And so in June, I was thinking, you know, what next? For the last 10 years at Silk, my mission was to, you know, open the doors to frontier markets, invest on behalf of institutions. But that wasn't cutting it anymore. I found, okay, I had ticked that, but what more? And so I was reading, I think it was day 8. Then I heard a former schoolmate had died. And on hearing that, I was like, okay. And when we were going through all that she had done, I was like, she lived such a short life, but very impactful. I was like, I'm sure there's more I can do to at least make this world a better place. And then we obviously had the Black Lives Matter protests and everything. And in the asset management industry, we had the talk about Black, events all happening. And I remember sending an email to Justin Owuwozi, and I was like, what can I do? That I'm thinking of starting a group, a small group of club for kids. Can I extend that to even a bigger crowd? And he referred me to somebody else, Gavin Lewis, and when at some point I will engage with him. But even before then, I was going through this whole journey in my head. I'd read day 8. I went back to day 3, and I was hoping I could read that to you. And it says very quickly, a man without a purpose is like a ship without a rudder, a wolf for nothing, a no man. And that's by Thomas Carlyle, right? And it's telling you about how important purpose is in our lives. And so I said to myself, okay, what can you do to make your community better? The conversation I had with Justin was actually after I had had the conversation with my daughter. And my daughter, we were actually in the kitchen. I remember that day very clearly. It was sunny. And I asked her, I said, when she was 4, I bought her a book, a Chanel book. And she was reading so quickly. And I think I was very excited. And I was like, oh, don't worry. When you're of age, I will get your Chanel bag. And so knowing that she was, well, I have a few years to go, but I was like, all right, my debt is, I'll have to pay it sooner than I thought. And I said, okay, let me look for a way out of this. And I asked her, I said, okay, would you rather a share in Google or, the present I promised you years ago? And she was like, oh no, I prefer to have shares in Google. And I was like, really? Oh, fantastic. So at least that was a cheaper option and a lot better option. And then when I spoke to her, she was also talking about starting a business with her friend. It was a conversation we've had a number of times, and we've been back and forth about what she should start. And I asked her, I said, okay, would you rather I invest with you and become a shareholder in your company, or would you rather I loan you the money and you pay back? And she goes, oh, I don't want you to have to reduce the profit myself and Kayla, that's her friend, will be making. So I'll prefer if you just loan us the money and we won't pay any interest. So I kept thinking, oh my goodness, you're making sense. At 9, okay, let me gather as many kids as I can. And I remember it must have been 2 years before, I'd spoken to someone in PIMCO, and they had said they had a problem hiring girls, and they had a problem hiring Black girls. And I was like, I'm surrounded by Black girls. All right, let me just try and train them at least to a level where I think they can consider asset management as an option if it's of interest to them, and educate them. So that's where we started. And I started with 10 kids, no, 12 actually, 12 kids. I had 1 boy. And we went through, and at the same fact, let me share my screen with you so you see some of the things we went through. I actually took them through CFA material, university level training, and I tried to simplify it, and it was 2 hours for 3 weeks. I actually had kids who stayed the whole 6 weeks, right? But I had 2 hours for 3 weeks. The first class I did, given that I don't have a teaching background, I didn't give them any break for 2 hours, but they didn't leave, which was the shocking thing. Another child who was ill refused. She said she wasn't going to lie down. She was going to come in for the class. This is a 2-hour on a Saturday. And so for me, it was shocking how much they wanted to learn. And I'll just take you through some of the things we talked about. And obviously there was a lot of conversation about Zoom, a lot of conversation about Google, Apple, Microsoft, just names they're used to seeing and products they're used to using. And so very quickly, please let me know once you can see my screen. Can you see this?
I can see it.
Okay. All right. So this is one of the classes, and I'll just quickly take you through some of the names. So this is Lana, that's my daughter. This is Tosin and her 2 boys, Kuife and Desifet. Sanjola. Anjola asked the most complicated questions. So I used to get them to watch Bloomberg every day, and Angela would take notes and write it down. And on Saturday, her mission was to ask me all those questions. So I had questions on market cap, what is S&P 500, what is GDP, and it went on and on and on. This is Timmy. Timmy was initially very reluctant to come.
Okay.
And his mom.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt. So I can't. All I see on my end is just the investment club summer 2020. So when you're making those references, I can't see any.
Oh, you can't see the pictures on the side.
Can anybody else see it? I don't know.
I can see.
Oh, I see it now. Sorry, I apologize.
Okay, okay. All right. So Timmy here was very reluctant. He wasn't interested. He thought it wasn't fun. His mom forced him. He came. By the time we were done, he was very knowledgeable because he's one of the older teens I actually worked with. And it was actually quite shocking how much he knew. And so we ran through quite a number of information. We actually also got data from Bloomberg. We compared Apple and some of the other tech names, and made a decision whether to buy or sell. Before we actually started all this, I actually also wanted to expand their thinking. And so I took them through a journey of how some of these companies that we now know actually started small. So you have some Walt Disney, Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, all started in garages. and so for me, the knowledge I was trying to pass on was that, okay, all fair and good, you can get a job, but know that the possibility of you actually owning something even bigger than this is there, because kids are amazing. Kids have such great potential. And I believe Sir Ken Robinson, who an educator I follow, he describes kids as learning organisms. They're just learning and picking up stuff. And so it's never too late for them to learn something new. And so my own idea was giving them this information, adding their knowledge, and I was explaining to them that, that idea you have is not there by mistake. Just jot it down, write it, and then if you talk to your parents, it's a viable, all you need is knowledge about it, a mentor who can help you through, and obviously help to grow the business. And I found it very interesting because the kids were popping up with the most random ideas. They were coming up, and the creativity I saw was amazing. And I was like, my goodness, these kids do really get it. And then we went through some other young kids who actually have successful businesses, and they're mainly in the US. And I was just trying to tell them how simple their concepts can be and their ideas can be. It doesn't have to be very complicated, but it should be purposeful. And so I gave them a few ideas here. And then we now went on to a final class, which completely blew my mind, where they were asked to pick what stock they liked. And so Timmy, who I mentioned was very reluctant, went through a presentation where he explained to us why he liked his stocks, and he was giving me the financials and the P ratios and the dividend yield and analyst recommendations. And so we went through that journey, and the feedback I got from one of the parents was actually that they're amazed as to how well the kids presented. Then there's Lana, who recently got a Dell computer. So for her, that was fascinating. And she was talking about Dell, which was her favorite stock. And then we had Angela. She talked us through Tesco, compared Tesco to M&S. And then we had Annie. Annie's mission is to be a billionaire with a purpose. So Annie was quoting Warren Buffett to us, and I was in tears. I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize they took on so much. So these three here, Lana, Annie, and Angela, were with me for the full 6 weeks. And it was incredible how they were able to, even when I upped the curriculum, because when I started with the 12 kids between 7 and 10. And for the next class, I was 11 to 18. And so because of that, I upped the level. So they were doing CFA material work and following the CFA curriculum for this aspect, and they still got it. So I was like, oh, this is actually shocking. And so we went through all that journey, and it was amazing how well they took to it. I don't have the other slides, but we went through Tesla, Zoom, quite an extensive list.
Just interject, because I feel like we'll miss some of these nuggets along the way, because I'm sure people have questions like that. Do you mind if I just ask some questions?
Sure.
How do you even start? Do you remember when we had this conversation at the beginning? Like, debt, equity, when I know finance quite intimately, and it feels like such a complex subject to broach with kids. So, how do you kick off that conversation? Because what you're showing me now and talking about PE ratios just feels like, oh my God, like, how do they get that? Just help us understand that a bit better.
Okay, so I think I'll start with how I explain Google to Lana. So they get Google, they get YouTube, they get Facebook, they see these products, they get Apple, they know what these companies do. So when you explain to them that they're owning a share of the company, they get it. When you explain, so I started explaining to them what P ratio is, and we went through, in fact, that P ratio is basically a way to compare one company with another, its price over earnings, and they got it. You see, I think, and I would, I'll tell you, when I was teaching to read, all I did was change the environment a little bit. I had a nanny who was like, it can't happen. Oh, she's too young to get it. And I changed it by just ensuring that what she listened to was educating her. And as I did that, she She picked it up easily. Even games she played, she picked it up easily because kids are learning organisms. They are learning all the time. Actually, human beings are learning organisms. Kids especially, they are willing to learn. And at this age, they take on information so quickly. They call this generation alpha. They're used to technology. They were born into it. So unlike us, where this information may have been a little difficult, maybe we would have had to, wait for the newspaper to come, you look at the stock. All we did was we used Trading 212 for the virtual portfolios that each child had. We used Yahoo Finance for the analysis, and we used NASDAQ for some of the analyst recommendations, the NASDAQ website. All this information completely free. We did not pay subscription for anything. So the information is out there, but it's how to collate the information and give it to them and just keep it simple. So dividend yield, you look at this is dividend over the price. You're comparing again, company A with company B, with company C and D. And it's just owning shares in one company, another company. And that is it. You keep it simple, they get it. And then we now went through things like ROE, ROA, and Warren Buffett is amazing. He has this series on YouTube, again free. And he's educating kids and he's taking them through numbers. He's talking about lemonade stands and how important location is. In the right location, you're not able to get clients, things as simple as that. And they get it. I was shocked, Nena. I was shocked because I was teaching because I really just wanted to make a difference. I wanted the kids to know the opportunities and the greatness in them. I wanted them to know that the world was what it's exactly how they want it to be. They control the narrative. They should, for me, it was trying to instill confidence, and I wanted to make sure that they were reminded that these companies we buy here are companies that they can create themselves. And so in all this, I was amazed at the response I got from the kids, to be honest. Again, like I was trying to teach my daughter when she was young, I was trying to teach these kids, and they get it. They get it completely. And so moving on, so these are some of the ideas some of the kids came up with during the course. So Hannah wants to create a sustainable t-shirt company. Angela wants to be a chemist and own her own lab. Joanna wants to start her own skincare range. Lana wants to be a doctor and a prime minister, and at the same time wants to start a business with her friend Kayla, selling bath bombs and cupcakes. And Annie wants to be a billionaire with a purpose. Michelle, the jewelry range. Gabrielle wants to own her own range of restaurants. And so we had random things coming out of the kids, of what they want to do. I think, and I will urge you guys to please go watch Ken Robinson, and he talks about how education is outdated and it needs to be more relevant to what is happening currently. These kids need life skills. They need to understand how to navigate this new world, this world that is, it's a microwave era. It's instant. Everything is digital. It's instant, and it's very different. So the way they go about it has to be different. when education was designed, it was designed for the industrial age. Now, with all that's going on, the uncertainty, companies, unsure about the future, it's good for our kids to know that they can decide, they can bring out that God-given greatness in them to create the world they want. And really, that was what I was after. And opening up their minds and letting them know very, very early that the ideas that come to them are designed for them. And they can go from just having those ideas to actually having, an actual company, something that's actually earning money. And it doesn't matter how small they start. And I think for every child, it's okay. Look for, even if it's just something small, just try it out, feel young, start a business, with £10, £5, have turnover, even if your turnover is 10 and you make £5 profit, fantastic. Guess what? You're on your way to greatness. And it's just reminding them about that. And so with all this, we have our first company that has launched. So, that's launching on the 1st of October. So Lana has launched her t-shirt business. And she's put me under, I was telling Nena earlier, tremendous pressure. So the initial date we were meant to launch was 30th of September. And it didn't happen because I was very busy. She put me on that even increased pressure. Mommy, this has to happen. I have to have clients. I need to sell my t-shirts. I've designed them. It's just giving them that opportunity. This hasn't cost a cent, It's giving them that opportunity and knowing that you would fail early, learn, move on from that. Some will succeed, but learning from experience is very fantastic. So anyway, the journey has been great and amazing. And when we finished the course, I met up with two moms. Toy is currently doing a course with the University of Cambridge. And Toy is big on education. She organized a music club a while back because she's passionate about kids. She's following her passion, which is actually education. And so I teamed up with Toy and also Tusi. Tusi is one of the moms I showed in the earlier slide. And Tusi is passionate about financial literacy and mainly teaching kids and women. And so what we did was, okay, look at this and decide, okay, how can we help the community a lot better? How can we create opportunities for kids to learn? And so we've come up with a company called the Investment Community. And basically this will provide financial literacy for kids. But we know that there's a lot of interested parents who want financial literacy too. So we are also planning something for the parents as well. And it's an exciting journey for us now because we're looking to now start classes in January 2021. And so now we're going through the whole process of looking at what works in the curriculum, what age it applies to, what to add, to ensure that the children have great knowledge. And so it has three main parts. The first part being understanding money, how to save, budget, and all. Second part is investments and learning what to invest in and how to do so. And the third part is entrepreneurship, which we hope to do around summer. And that would cover kids, learning from scratch how to start a business, what kind of business they'll be interested in pursuing, and then hopefully I'm really hoping that at some point we can actually get a fund that will look to incubate some of these great ideas. And so with that, I believe I've covered a lot of ground, but I really just want to leave with the fact that child, there's greatness in them, and it takes us reminding them sometimes of the greatness that lies in them and helping to nurture that greatness into something bigger and greater. Thank you.
It's fantastic for me. Gosh, I'm always in awe when I listen to you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Guys, like, I can hug Funmi's time lots, because the first time she went through this, I kept going, what? Yes? All through, I think I kept interrupting you. I was like, did they really do that? Because what the story shows is, as adults, there's so much we underestimate of what children can achieve. So one of the first conversations I had with Funmi, I still remember in the city, we were having lunch, and Funmi was telling me about her daughter learning to read at 1.5, and the process that you went. I was just like, you're kidding me, it's impossible. Up till today, you remember I put that for you in the LinkedIn comments, that my go-to baby shower present became, brain rolls for babies. It's on my Amazon list. It was like, here, because I had my sisters who were having kids at about the same time. And it's like, I don't know, do you think this was just a fluke for her, or is it something that really does apply across the board? But it's that you've been consistent about actually not putting limitations. Let's see how it goes. And we've seen from your journey that you'll just go with the kids wherever they are. Your daughter was different to your son, and you just go with the flow and continue to guide and shape them. But anyway, guys, you guys heard a lot. I'm sure there are lots of questions. Let me just run through this. And there aren't many of us, so I would encourage, to be honest, rather than me reading the questions, use your voice. I think I found actually with the sessions where we've just spoken, we've got the most out of it. So maybe unmute yourselves and come on and speak and show yourself, is what I'd say. But let me start with the questions that were here whilst people decide if they want to. So I saw one from yesterday. Funmi, can you see the comments? I mean, everyone's like, this is
I'm just opening it.
So it says, ethical investing is topical at the moment. Do you find that when you teach, you need to focus less on profit and more on the alternative impacts from companies? Oh, that's interesting.
So yeah, I think so. What we've been doing is focusing more on whether the company is suitable with regards to investing at that point in time. What I tell the kids is that at the end of the day, you want to ensure that you're serving or changing somebody's life. And so with Lana, and I think Anna, it was very clear. Anna said she wants to create a sustainable business. With Lana, she wants to give some of the profit to water aid and the homeless shelter close here. I think it's very important that very early on you let them know that they have to be changing the world to make it better. You know, unfortunately, our generations and generations before us didn't do great. And so just steering them in that direction is quite key. So yes, we mention it, but it's not with regards to the companies that we're looking at. It's with regards to whatever they intend to do, as long as it's steering them in the right direction and helping. I'll give you an example. I had a 14-year-old, and 14-year-olds are very tricky to talk to. And he had a clear idea of what he wanted to do. He wants to be a game developer, and he wants to work for Google. And I said, okay, you and like 100,000 other people want to work for Google. My challenge to you is to tell me how your IT skills are going to impact the world. If you can tell me and think about it now, then you're a good fit. And let's not get it wrong, you can create a company like Google. So don't limit yourself. You have years you need to go and train because you need knowledge, you need experience, you need mentorship, and you need good people to help you run a business. So if you can come back to me with those questions answered, then let's talk further. And so it's about giving them that information very early. And yes, hopefully they will help make the world a better place.
It's so inspiring hearing that. But I like that. But I think I find anyway, when I speak to young people, I think they're way more advanced than we are on purpose. And I mean, I guess it's also good, right? They have people like Greta, who was like a role model,
Correct.
Very visible, and she's young. And so there almost is an expectation that, yes, what are you doing? So that's really powerful. So Veronique asks, how can we encourage older children or young adults? And I think she also had the same question actually for parents, because parents need to understand the information.
Yes.
And not everyone's financially savvy to be able
yes.
to teach the kids.
And that's why we thought. So I remember I gave a talk to a bunch of ladies in church, and I went through this very quickly. Again, I used my CFA material, and we went through. In fact, I was told that I should come back, so we could go through it in detail. Literally go from I have money, how do I invest? And although I'm not a financial advisor, I can only guide. And so you have their stages like that. And with the parents, the feedback I've been getting is they need to know to be comfortable helping the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that I know is very key. So yes, we're going to we're going to look to educate the parents too.
Interesting.
Can I ask? Thank you, Funmi. It's been absolutely fascinating listening to you. I'm actually quite financially illiterate as well, and I would love to have had a better education when I was younger. And I was thinking that whilst I invest a little bit now because I earn a salary that allows me to save a bit and stuff, things are growing. So that's a good feeling, and you want to do more. But I was wondering if you got a sense from the children at all about if their investment, if their EAA pick hadn't worked, or their Tesco's or their Tesla or whatever actually started to decline, how would they feel about that? So I get your point about teach children to fail young, teach children to take risks. But actually that's quite a hard concept.
It is.
Money, your pocket money, your present that you've traded. Did you get a sense at all about how they might feel about that?
So we had a virtual portfolio, and when Lana would look and the market is tanked, she's like, I have to sell. And she's literally panicking, saying, I need to sell it. And I'm like, no, as long as you have it for the long term.
Yeah.
In the short term, it's volatile. But in the long term, as long as you believe in the company, as long as you believe in management, as long as you bought it, margin of safety has to be high so that you can't I'll give you an example. If a company is worth £5 and it's currently trading at 1, that's fantastic. If it's trading at 3 or 4 and it's worth 5, that's too close, because what will happen is if the stock price should move high, it gets the best you get is probably £1, as opposed to if it was coming from 1 and you have £4, as profit. So within that 1 and 5, you can have volatility. All right. So even if it doesn't settle at 5, it settles at 3, you still made a profit because you bought it at 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll explain again. So
I understand. I was just trying to get a sense of whether the children would find that hard to deal with, and whether you felt comfortable for those feelings.
It's as long as you remind them it's long term.
Yeah.
And it's companies they're comfortable with. So it's good to have a sense of comfort in it, and you say, you know what, 5 years time, it's not for now, right? It's for maybe 2 years time, it's not for now. Because we know the markets can be volatile, but then it's the long-term returns that we're interested in. And they can watch it and understand that sometimes the market goes up, sometimes the market goes down, but that doesn't mean that's the value of the company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I listen to you also, I think there are life lessons here, right? That the children are understanding, and which is that actually sometimes things can go wrong.
Yeah.
And and I think, that's when your parenting comes in, right? To help them understand and navigate this. And I find this so fascinating, because even with the, virtual portfolio you've created, you can use that safe space to kind of start addressing some of these life skills that they need to get into, in addition to learning how to manage money, which is important still too. But yes, no, Robin, I know you were about to say something.
I love this program that you've created for me, but what I also love is this kind of training the children and their brains around the sense of being able to manage failure, because failure is what takes us to success. So getting their brain used to the waiting, I have to sit through this. When we're babies, we learn how to walk and then we fall down, but we get back up. But somewhere along the line, failure becomes something we make negative about ourselves. So I love how you're teaching them, that basic skill of, no, you have to wait. You have to watch the numbers. You might fail, but then you get back up. And that lesson so early, I commend you for that. It's just,
Thank you.
beautiful. Thank you for doing that.
When we say this, I'm like, your daughter's unassuming question, or maybe yours to her, when you thought this was about a Chanel bag and saving some money, started something, which I hope is huge. When you think about it, like, we know that there's a huge gap, especially financial literacy, right? With just us as adults, and the fact that you're, that visionary, and like, okay, let's nip it in the bud, start them early, get them comfortable with thinking about money.
I think it's not
if I can, hi, it's me. So my question to you, for me, was how can we, because I absolutely love this, but I have, so I'm 40, and I've learned too late in life. I think not too late, but I think if I knew what you were teaching a lot earlier in life, I think it would have made it easier for me to support my son, who is 15, and he's starting to get his own money. He's starting to work on it. And we were also talking, so he told me he needs to save for his pension. And I just went like, you're 15, you want to save for your pension? I have no idea what you're talking about. But it's him coming with those things. I don't even have to tell him, you need to save money. And it's just like, because I'm a bit better now with my finances, I still feel I lack a bit to support him and his friends who talk to me a lot. Honestly, I had a bunch of 6 boys, 15, telling me, oh, who do you save your pension with? Because we need to save for our pension. And I was like, what are you talking about? So it's like, where can we as parents get educated on like basic things that we can pass on to our children?
There are quite a number of websites that can help. And I can send you information if you need it. And I'm happy to speak to your son if he needs support. Because all that is really needed at that age. And I saw your question about your son, is him getting someone who can help him navigate. It's with them, where with 14, 15-year-olds, the conversation is no longer tutor to students. It's now almost mates, because you now have a man, you know, and having a conversation, real life conversation with him and saying, hey, okay, your decision is fantastic. I don't know any 14-year-old who willingly.
I mean, you know, you had a Go Henry card that I got for him when he was 7, I think. So, you know, we had a deal. You make your homework, I give you £2. You tidy up your bedroom, I give you £3. So, you know, he turned 15 and he said to me, oh, I want a Monzo account. But Monzo doesn't open an account for children until they're 16. And so he did his research. He wanted a bank account that will allow him to have a saving account. So whenever he would spend money, he would have like a penny going to his saving account. But none of this exists for under 16 years old. And then he came back with a bunch of things. And I was like, listen, I just managed now at 40 years old to pay all my direct debits on time and my rent. I don't, you know, you're talking to me about saving at 15, pension. When I was 15, I was saving to buy the next CD of Madonna. I'm not talking about savings. So, you know, it's all those things that I feel like it's really good. Because, you know, he's eventually talking to him about it with his friends and his cousins. And when they all come around to play with the PlayStation, I can hear the conversation. And my mind is going up, you guys are too much. But I think it's good, because if it was like that for me at that age, my life would have been completely different. But it's just like, where can we get, I really would like to know more now. And I think, you know, I started my working career with Standard & Poor's, so I invested money back then. But then I moved to London and I stopped doing all those things. And I feel very passionate about all, you know, sustainable business, and equally children do too. So I'm really keen to have that.
I'll send you some material.
Yeah.
So Funmi, do you want to share, because this is, I think some of what Veronique's looking for is part of what you're going to include in your content in the new year. So do you want to share some of that? Maybe just drop the link in the chat, or you can share it with me and I'll include it in the follow-up. In the follow-up I share, because there are a number of, Veronique, you know, in addition to Funmi, there are a number of financial advisory platforms that are all about actually helping women in particular. It's really shocking, but they see it as a huge barrier where we feel like we don't understand, we don't feel confident enough to think about money. It's something that men do, and we've just never really been encouraged to, which is just crappy. But it's something that we need to really understand, because it's not just about making money. A huge part that's underlooked is actually preserving wealth and growing wealth.
Right.
And it's important. But anyway, that's why we thank God for people like Funmi who are there and making a big difference. And my dear, this is only the start. I'm going to continue to remind you and put, like, you think your daughter's putting you under pressure. There's a goal here, you know. This is going on school curriculums because they should.
I really would like, really would like that to happen, because it's necessary. Their world is completely different, and the greatest fear is that the way the kids are being taught now, the jobs that that they're hoping to get at the end of the day might not exist because the world is changing. And so it's ensuring that we're continuing to help with their creativity, the ability to think outside the box, the ability to look at solutions for problems, common problems we have, and realizing that they can create, even if it's a small company, all companies start small, and look for a problem and create a solution. And just grow that and grow that, and just reminding them about the greatness in them. You know, the people who created Google, Amazon, just thought about an idea, built on that idea, got mentors to help them with that idea, and became successful. And so why can't our kids think that same way? Why do they have to think they have to work there? There's a time and place. There's a time to work and learn. And there's a time to dream and achieve.
And it's, oh God, every time I hear you, it's like you're just preaching, because it's what we forget to do about as adults when we were so good at, which is dreaming and imagining and actually just seeing everything as possible. And I tend
reality sets in.
Yeah, it's just like, gosh, it's almost the, I'm more afraid now as a 40-year-old than I was as a child, because I've seen life, right? There's more to lose. And I think encouraging this young really just opens up the opportunity. And I think it's a confidence too, because even if people, I think knowledge is power, like you just said, right? And it's having explored all the options, and then you know that your choices are coming from an informed place. That's really empowering. And so whichever direction they follow, at least knowing that that has always been an option that has been explored. Because when I think about me, I'm starting a business at almost 40. I wish I had even considered that much earlier in my career, but I didn't. You know, I came from a Niger family where it's like, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're an engineer. And you know, if you're not any of those, you're not even, you haven't even started. And that was what was drummed into me growing up, and those were my choices. And so I followed that path, and I tick, and then I got to the point where I was like, well, but this is actually what I'm supposed to be doing. So how am I here? And so it's so important for me.
I think I would live with this.
Yeah.
It's the what if. What if I had done something different?
Yeah.
You know, and I think if we can help the kids, you know, at least achieve, let them try, let them fail, and fail young, so that the recovery is quicker. You know, for you and I, we're thinking about the consequences. Oh, you know, if they learn early, they take that experience with them, you know, and improve on that experience. And
it's building resilience from an early stage. It's amazing. But yes, okay, I'm just conscious it's 9:02. For me, it's been amazing hearing the story. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you to everyone who stayed with us. It's 9 p.m. on a Thursday. It's not an easy feat. Like I said, this is the 5th of 7. We have 2 more to go next week, Wednesday and Thursday next week. I hope to see some of you guys, if not all of you. Next week's session on Wednesday is talking about aromatherapy, and really, you know, aromatherapy is something we reach for. It smells nice, it's nice, or maybe for some people, it's what old ladies use. But it's such a powerful, there is a lot more science and fact around actually aromatherapy. And one of the products that I have in my collection, and I say it's sort of my liquid gold, is Flight Mode, which is a blend of really beautiful essential oils that I talk about because it smells nice, it makes me feel better, but it's doing much more, right? We've used ingredients that purify, protect, and really help support your natural immunity. And so I've invited an expert aromatherapist to come in and actually come and start to deal with a lot of the questions I get day to day. Yep, around safety, toxicity, performance, what's doing what, and really helping us understand also that connection between scent and mood and the brain, because this really helps program. So there's that. That's on Wednesday with Nana. It's at 8 p.m. both sessions. And then on Thursday is really exciting. I have a dear friend, Lola. She's a film makeup artist. In fact, her creds list is long. She's a makeup artist, a beauty therapist, a skincare expert. Anyway, the long and short of the session with Lola is to really help us better understand two things: making sensible makeup decisions. What do I buy? I'm very much into clean, green, healthy options. So helping us navigate that space, as well as helping us understand how to put on makeup as grown-ups. So really nailing that sort of the base of your makeup, as well as those extra little tips that we can add to go from I woke up to just instant glam. So it's a session, it's a Q&A. To be honest, we'll see where the conversation goes. But those are two really exciting sessions next week, which I hope you can join us for. I will share the video and thoughts here. And it's been so lovely having you guys. Thank you. Thank you everyone for all your questions and for participating fully. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Nana.
Thank you, Dana.
Bye.